Senate often does things by unanimous consent, areas where there's really no common disagreement. This body will do a unanimous consent to congratulate the New England Patriots for winning the Super Bowl. And unanimously, all of us will agree to congratulate them. But today, the senator from Nebraska brought up a very straightforward, simple bill. Do we, as a nation, permit infanticide? For some reason, the New England Patriots is non-controversial, but the death of children at their delivery is controversial enough that my Democratic colleagues are blocking it. Now, it's not some fancy formal bill with a trick piece into it. It's a very simple, straightforward bill. Occasionally, an abortion is botched, and while they're actually trying to take the life of a child, the child is actually delivered. At that moment, the child is delivered and is on the table crying, and the question is, now what do we do? Current medical practice is back away from the child and allow them to die slowly on the table because they were supposed to have been an abortion, though the child was fully delivered and is on the table, umbilical cord attached, crying. This doesn't seem like this should be controversial. This seems like this should be as straightforward as congratulating the Patriots for winning the Super Bowl. How can we as Americans say no to a fully delivered child's life? The question about abortion has been historically a question about when does life begin. I'm one of those crazy radicals that actually believes in science. And I think when cell division is occurring and DNA is there that's different than the mom and different than the dad, that's actually a different human being. A smaller human being, but a different human being. That's what everyone in science believes. That child that's developing is alive. Their day of their birth is just another day. Now, it's a pretty traumatic day for them to be able to transition from in the womb to outside, but birth is just another day in life for that child because they're fully developing. They were developing in the womb, they're developing outside the womb. Every single person that can hear this has had the exact same experience of developing in the womb. This seemed like this was a common sense issue until the state of New York a few weeks ago stood and cheered and applauded when they passed a bill for third trimester abortions. This is ultra late term abortions. This is a fully viable child abortions. Now, let me just review real quick on what the state of New York did. There are only 4 countries in the world that allow late term abortions. Only 4 left. North Korea, China, Vietnam, and the United States. And New York legislature stood and cheered that they're in the middle of the human rights depraved nations of China, North Korea, and Vietnam. That's at 24 weeks and on. At 20 weeks, there's still left Canada and the Netherlands and Singapore. But by 24 weeks, at that late term, Canada, the Netherlands, and Singapore, they drop off. They're like, no, we're out. That's a fully viable child. But New York legislature stood and applauded. And then it got one-upped in Virginia last week, as the governor of Virginia explained their late-term abortion bill as one-upping New York, saying in their bill, in his words, this is how it would work. If a child has deformities, however that's defined, or for the mental or physical health, however they want to define that, with any loose, because there was no definition, they would deliver the child, make them comfortable, resuscitate the child if the mother wanted, and then they would discuss what to do with the child. So it's not enough for the state of New York to applaud late-term abortions and joining North Korea, China, and Vietnam as the only place on earth that allows this. No, Virginia Democrats had to go one more and say, let's deliver the child and then discuss it based on their deformities. Back to the Super Bowl conversation, one of the most popular commercials in the Super Bowl was for a gaming system showing kids with disabilities playing a video game just like other kids. Except now they want to decide at that child's birth whether to just take that life then. How in the world can we as a culture run a television commercial and say, that kid is just like that kid? Look, they play games just alike. But when they're little, let's deliver them and discuss it and figure out what we want to do. This is infanticide. This is not about pro-life and pro-choice. This is pro-humanity. To get to the point that we're discussing whether a child lives or dies based on what they look like at birth. And if they don't quite look right, then we'll take that life. Is inhumane and is beneath us as a society. And I cannot fathom a discussion that we're having on the floor of the United States Senate where a fully delivered child, we're going to discuss whether they're going to live or die. Or a botched abortion where a child is fully delivered, that we're going to discuss what happens. It used to be, my Democratic colleagues said life begins at birth. Now apparently it's not at birth anymore. It's unknown when life actually begins, because it's a discussion we're going to have at their birth now. How can we block this bill? How can this, of all things, not bring unanimous consent? It's inhumane. With that, I yield the floor.